Erik ten Hag's standard of English has gradually improved during his time as Manchester United manager. The Dutchman is capable of sharing jokes in press conferences, but there is one word in the dictionary that he does not seem familiar with. That word is rotation. The Dutchman has a preference for picking a settled team, and he's often played his strongest lineup even when it seemed logical to rotate, which is inadvisable in a campaign that is set to exceed 60 games. At the end of February last season, United had crashed out of the Carabao Cup, FA Cup and the Champions League, but this time around, they have challenged in every competition, and that has led to an increased number of fixtures. United played 49 matches across all competitions last season, and they have already played 50 games this term. The increase in games is a tangible representation of progress, but it also suggests the players could look weary in the final few weeks. It's natural for fatigue to creep into the dressing room at this stage of the season. The team looked notably tired when scraping past Fulham in the quarter-final of the FA Cup before the March internationals, and the break was needed. The energy and intensity that Ten Hag demands has returned to an extent since, but the effects of a long season are beginning to catch up with some members of the squad, and that was seen again at the weekend against Brighton. It was an FA Cup semi-final that lacked quality, and it will hardly be remembered as a classic. The chances in the game were at a premium, and both sides could not find a breakthrough, which eventually led to extra time and penalties. United prevailed in the shootout, and the victory is the only thing that matters in such encounters, but there was a spell during the game, between the hour mark and 75 minutes, that might have got Ten Hag thinking about his team selection. Casemiro, Bruno Fernandes and Christian Eriksen started against Brighton on Sunday. However, a change might be sensible for Tottenham on Thursday because energy has been absent from Eriksen's last two appearances. Although the Dane was masterful in the midfield against Nottingham Forest, a few days later, he looked short of legs against Sevilla, and it was no surprise to see him replaced by Fred around the 60th minute versus Brighton at Wembley. After the introduction of Fred to the game, United enjoyed their best spell. The Brazilian injected some much-needed intensity into the midfield, and the superb Moises Caicedo was not as effective. Fred's presence suddenly allowed United to press Brighton with intent, and that desire was almost rewarded when Robert Sanchez was charged down, with the momentum clearly turning in the favour of the red shirts on the pitch. It was an impressive display from Fred and a reminder of the value he can provide in particular circumstances. The 30-year-old has been a favourite of every manager he's worked under at United, and yet he does not have that status with Ten Hag. Fred has made just 10 starts in the Premier League this season, and his involvement has been limited. He was expected to start fewer games, but how sparingly he's been used has been interesting, especially considering his relationship with Casemiro. The energy Fred can give and his pressing ability make him an asset. He can bring something unique, and it would be logical to start him with Casemiro and Fernandes, fitness provided, against Spurs. Although he's not a player to start every game across a season, the midfield often becomes more dynamic when he plays, and that could be important against Tottenham, who will be desperate to respond after capitulating against Newcastle. The midfield battle was lost against Sevilla, and it was being lost against Brighton until the introduction of Fred. A change in midfield against Tottenham makes sense, and Fred should make the team from the start.
Now